All right, I think we made it through
Somebody
super
says,
chats, right?
this is just because I wrote about this recently and I'll just answer it. It looks
Sure.
like a new person in chat says, former SJW will vote Trump. Why? Well, really simply because I'm no longer an SJW. Former is the important word there, I think. And when I left my old belief system, like what I realized about it was that it teaches you that it's about ending racism and sexism, but it's not. It's about pushing racism and sexism. It's collectivist. It teaches you that the best way to behave in the world is as if we are all in a struggle for power between identity groups, and that we should judge and treat people differently based on what race and sex we all are, and that's how you end racism and sexism. It's not. You don't end collectivism with collectivism. You don't end racism with racism. And I often call it evil, as people watch the show know. I call it evil not just because it's racist and sexist, but because it is really good at taking well-intentioned people and turning them into mouthpieces for it. And I think that's an extra step of immorality. Speaking of that book, Ordinary Men, and how do you get average people to participate in great evil? Well, part of the way you do that is by convincing them of the good, the just ends. You convince them that it's something good. You have to get people to think it's something good to push it. So why am I voting for Trump? Because I oppose social justice ideology, and social justice ideology, my old ideology, has eaten up the Democratic Party. Is Trump stuff much worse? No, I don't think it is. Trump is not supporting racist, sexist collectivism. He's the most liberal candidate running, and I have to vote for a liberal. I have to vote for someone who supports treating people as individuals, who supports individualism.
Yeah.
I have to vote for someone who supports free speech, who's against censorship. And I have to vote for someone personally. I'm also pretty anti-war. I'm anti-interventionist. And, he is, compared to Joe Biden, he's the most interventionist candidate. No new wars under Trump. Is he perfect in that area? No, I don't think we should have gone to Syria, but it's much better than what we had under Obama, who I voted for twice and then sat back and didn't pay attention to all the wars, to the drone strikes. Like I'm voting for Trump because he is, in my opinion, he's not a Republican or a Democrat. He's anti-establishment. And he's a I don't know, like he's sort of, Carter calls him a bull in a china shop sometimes, but he's definitely someone that the establishment hates, that the media hates, that the deep state hates, because they don't have as much control over him as they do over the typical Democrats and Republicans that get elected. So I'm voting for him because he's the most liberal option. And Joe Jorgensen, oh my gosh, I wanted to like the libertarian candidate. I wanted to like her, but she started speaking social justice as well. And if you're a person who views social justice as the greatest existential threat currently facing our country, which I do, I view it as that. I think it threatens to undermine our very civilization, because it is opposed to everything we were founded on. It's opposed to individualism. It's opposed to equality. It's opposed to free speech. It supports violence. So I have to vote against that. There you go. That's why.
I think a lot of people are just turned off by Trump's bluster
I
and
get
his,
it.
and yeah, and I get that too. But Alan
I get
Conrad
it.
says he's a bull in the cathedral. That is a better analogy, Alan Conrad. That's what he is, right? And that the only
Yeah.
reason that I don't actually think his policies are much different than
They're not
a
that
'90s
different.
Democrat. I mean,
No, they're not
he's not
different at
really
all from a
different.
90s
He's
Democrat.
removing some regulations, which is nice at a faster pace, so that's good. But other than that, I mean, the kids in the cage is crap. I mean, Obama built the cages. I mean, he's not, you know, I get that we've moved so far left as a culture that the idea that people need to not come in the country illegally is somehow crazy and rightist. But, uh, it's not. I don't actually think policy wise he's that crazy. He's not that different than
He's not
Bill
different.
Clinton. It's just
You can
it's
go, you can even listen to Obama speeches that were very similar to Trump's when it came to
yeah,
policy positions on
yeah,
immigration, things like
yeah.
that. He's not that different. You're right.
But culturally, he's fighting the culture war in a way that needs to be fought, I think. And You know, could he be
And
more
and
eloquent? Absolutely. Could he be more effective?
yeah,
I don't know. They hate him a lot, so he must be pretty effective. I mean,
and and I actually like Lev, the person who asked, said thank you for answering. Yeah, one other quick thing is if you're new to our show, Carter and I we disagree on a lot and we agree on a lot. One of the things we both agree on is that this is a cultural problem. Ideology being adopted en masse, any ideology, but especially this one, this is a cultural thing. It started, I was indoctrinated over 20 years ago at college, but it's in academia, but it's even in public schools now. It's in some churches. It's a cultural thing. And I don't think, I'm not one of these people who thinks, Carter and I don't believe that you can solve cultural problems with politics.
not generally.
But I don't think it hurts to vote for the politician who is pushing back against this cultural problem.
Right.
At least I hope it doesn't hurt to vote for him. Sometimes I wonder if it might provoke an even greater, um,
Well,
throwdown from social justice by getting him reelected, but I don't know.
I would say, look, in when I voted for Trump in 2016, not really voting generally, but I voted for him because I really couldn't stand Hillary, and I liked that he was fighting the cultural war. Now, I've been underwhelmed by his performance, frankly, but the threat from the other side is much more existential. Hillary was just, I viewed Hillary as just another corrupt deep state politician who, part of a cartel doing evil things because that's what they do. Biden is a Trojan horse because he's a Trojan horse for social justice ideology through Kamala. And so I don't think Biden's in control of his own campaign and what he's doing. So I see
Yeah.
Biden as literally voting for social justice. I think Biden will bring social justice ideologues will ride Biden's coattails. If you want to see AOC in the Oval Office, the path starts with someone like Biden. It starts with Biden letting that ideology in through a back door, possibly through his VP, and warming people up to it, and then moving to someone more overt later. So you know, that's what it is. And, someone points out Trump, someone says they're impressed with his performance in the face of impeachment and constant bias by the media. I do think
Yes.
there has been it is hard to measure his performance objectively because he has been under, for this entire time, for his entire first term, he's been under constant attack from the deep state. And that's not a very efficient way to govern. So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. That's the other thing is there are a couple things he said that I really appreciate. I appreciated his executive action against critical race theory, indoctrination being in our federally funded, our taxpayer funded government labs. That was huge for me. I really appreciate the fact that he calls the legacy media fake news. I know they hate it, but he is right. He is right. As Carter said earlier in this episode, they are doing the opposite of what what a good press should do, what journalism should do. Journalism should be in search of the truth. They are doing the opposite. They are obfuscating the truth, and they are pushing propaganda, and they are engaging in mass manipulation of their own people, of the American people.
Yep.
And he's willing to admit that. I would much rather have someone like him who is living in reality, who I disagree with on some policy positions, than to have a party that is not living in reality and is actively working with the legacy media and big social to try and sell me a false reality, to try and sell me on, oh, you live in the matrix. I don't
Right. Right.
I don't live in the matrix anymore. Yeah, I thank you for that question. I know we have a lot of new people, maybe they don't know
Yeah.
my background or whatever. So